The air hangs thick and wet, tasting of salt and rot. 5 of them move through the mangrove shallows. They're dark, lean bodies slick with the tepid water of the ancient Tethys Sea. It is a world of shimmering heat and tangled roots. A place where the line between land and water is a muddy lie. This is the rhythm of existence. A portrait of prehistoric life measured in the search for calories. The old female, her hair streaked with grey, plunges her long arms into the silt, her fingers expertly probing for the hard shells of clams. 2 younger males stand further out, their backs to the shore, holding sharpened sticks. Their eyes scan the surface, not for the silver flash of fish, but for the log-minus-like stillness of a crocodile. They are a single organism of caution and purpose, a small flame of community flickering in a world that does not care. This is the story of our earliest human ancestors, a chapter written in mud and fear. A sudden splash. It is not the familiar sound of a diving bird or a fleeing fish. It is heavy, violent. One of the young males, the one with the scar on his shoulder, disappears. There is no cry, only a convulsive swirl of water. A bloom of pink that is instantly consumed by the murky brow. The others freeze. Their minds, built for simple cause and effect, cannot process the event. There was no crocodile snout, no lunge from the reeds. There was only water, and then a void where a life used to be. The old female is the first to react. A low, guttural bark escapes her throat, a sound of pure, undiluted terror. It is the signal. They scramble back, clawing their way through the sucking mud and over the gnarled mangrove knees, their practiced foraging technique shattered by a primal, blinding panic. They do not stop until their feet find the relative safety of dry, sun-baked turf. They huddle together, panting, their eyes wide and locked on the water. It is placid now, as if nothing happened. The heat shimmers above its surface. A dragonfly hovers, oblivious, but for the clan. The world has been permanently altered. Their most reliable larder, the sprawling littoral zone that has fed their kind for generations, now holds an unknown dread. It is an intelligence point born from tragedy. The equation of survival has a new, horrifying variable. The remaining male clutches his spear, his knuckles white. The old female stares at the empty space he once occupied, her face a mask of numb calculation. She sees the setting sun, feels the gnawing hunger in her own belly, and understands the hard choice that awaits. The water rose them alive, and soon, hunger will force them to try and kill it. The sun rises and sets twice. Hunger, a more ancient and insistent predator, stalks them on land. The cries of the young become thin, sharp accusations. The memory of the attack is a ghost that haunts the edge of the mangrove swamp. But the reality of starvation is a demon that sits inside their bellies. Survival is a series of brutal negotiations, and the clan must now renegotiate its relationship with the water. The old female leads them back to the shoreline, not with courage, but with the grim resolve of an animal that has no other choice. They stop where the mud softens, a line of silent, hesitant figures. The water is a flat, inscrutable mirror reflecting the pale morning sky. The fear is a physical presence, a cold weight in their chests. Then, a flicker of something new. It is not a plan, but an instinct refined by terror. The surviving young male, the one who saw his companion vanish, does not enter the water. Instead, he scrambles up the thick, arched root of an ancient mangrove, his long limbs finding easy purchase. From this perch, 10 feet above the shallows, his perspective shifts. The advantage of his evolving bipedalist is not just in walking, but in seeing. The glare of the sun is less blinding from here. He can perceive shapes moving beneath the surface that are invisible from ground level. He has become a sentinel. This is foresight, not as a grand strategy, but as a desperate, emergent adaptation. Below, the others watch him, understanding dawning in their dark eyes. They begin to work. 2 females enter the water, moving with a tense, deliberate slowness. They never stray far from each other. Their body's a small island of mutual defense. They keep their heads up, their foraging time halved by the need for constant vigilance. The old female remains on the shore, a second pair of eyes, her gaze fixed on the sentinel male. He is their early warning. He makes a soft clucking sound with his tongue, a rhythm of safety. If it stops, they will run. For an hour, the fragile system holds. They gather a meager handful of mollusks, and then the clucking stops. The male freezes, his body rigid, his gaze locked on a patch of water 50 yards out. A long, dark shape detaches itself from the seafloor's gloom. It is not a look, it is impossibly long, moving with a slow, serpentine grace that is utterly alien. The head surfaces for a moment in error, reptilian snout bristling with interlocking teeth, a small, black eye devoid of anything but appetite. The Basilosaurus. They finally have a name for their nightmare. It is a creature not of the land or the sea, but of the terrifying threshold between. It glides past, indifferent, a king in its domain, and then sinks back into the murk. The clan does not wait. They are out of the water in a flash. The day's meager prize clutched in their hands. They have not won. They have survived. This is their new reality. A bargain made with the shallows, where every meal is paid for with a currency of pure, undiluted fear. The weeks that follow are a slow attrition. The sentinel system works, but it is inefficient. Fear makes them clumsy. Their time in the water is brief. Their harvest poorer. The clan grows weaker, the fat vanishing from their bones. Desperation forces their hand. The tide is unusually low, exposing vast, glistening mudflats they have never dared to cross. The water that remains is a series of shallow, isolated pools too shallow, they believe, for the serpent. It is a calculated risk, born of annoying emptiness. A small party, including a curious and incautious juvenile, ventures out onto the flats. The mud sucks at their feet. A strange new terrain. They are focused on the bounty of trapped fish and crustaceans, a feast laid bare by the receding sea. The attack comes from a place they never considered. A deeper, hidden channel, no wider than a fallen tree, snakes through the mudflats. The Basilosaurus has been waiting in it, submerged and patient. It erupts from the murky water, a living nightmare of modern teeth. It is not a full minus-bodied lunge, it is a calculated strike. Its long jaws close on the juvenile's leg, the force spinning the small Australopithecus off his feet. A thin, piercing shriek cuts through the humid air. There is no time for thought, no room for cowardice. The flicker of humanity ignites into a fire of collective rage. The old female emits a terrifying, high-pitched battle cry. It is a signal that bypasses reason and speaks directly to the deepest instinct. Protect the young. What happens next is not a hunt, but an explosion of chaotic, defensive mobbing behavior. The adults charge forward, slapping the water, screaming, hurling anything they can grab, clumps of heavy mud, sharp minus-edged shells, waterlogged sticks. They don't aim to kill, they aim to overwhelm. A world of fear. Our human evolution shows, often hinges on such communal defense. The predator, holding the screaming juvenile, is pursued, shells clatter uselessly against its thick hide. But the sticks find their mark in its sensitive eye. It roars, a sound of frustrated fury, shaking its massive head. It tries to drag its prey back into the channel, but in the shallow water, its immense length becomes a liability. It thrashes, its powerful tail flukes churning the mud, but it cannot gain purchase. For the first time, the clan sees not a god, but a creature bound by the same physical laws as them. It is too big for this new battlefield. The pain, the confusion, and the very real risk of beaching itself become too great. With a final, disgusted snort, it opens its jaws and sinks back into the channel, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. They drag the bleeding, whimpering juvenile from the water. He will carry the serpent's mark for the rest of his life, a lattice of deep scars on his leg, but he is alive. and they have learned the rule. The serpent owns the water, but the mud, the treacherous, clinging mud, is theirs. The clan huddles in the fading light, the scent of their fear mixing with the salt of the sea. They tend to the juvenile's wounds with a gentleness that seems out of place in such a brutal world. Tonight, the lesson was not one of dominance, but of limits. They did not conquer the beast, they discovered its cage. This moment, lost to the deep time of hominid history, is more significant than any to love stone or bone. The fossil record, the foundational text of paleontology and archaeology, is filled with the bones of 1,000 failed experiments in survival. But the evidence of cooperation is written in our very DNA. This entire evolution documentary is a testament to such moments, where the impulse to protect another outweighed the instinct to save oneself. The altruistic charge into the shallows was not a choice. It was a biological imperative. The birth of the pact that would one day allow ancient humans to inherit the earth. That frantic, desperate defense is the ancestor of every law, the blueprint for every city, the quiet helm of trust that allows us to live together. They learn at the monster's boundary, but in doing so, they define their own. We are the children of the mob, the descendants of those who ran toward the screaming. The question that echoes from this muddy shore, across the million years, is not how we learn it to fight the monsters, but how we learn it to fight for each other. If you are listening to this chronicle, then you are a keeper of that echo. Cast your own mark upon the record, share the story, and let the fire of our shared past warm the shadows of the present. The currents of time wash away the bones, but the echo of the cry remains, etched not in stone, but in the marrow of instinct. What happens when the monster is not in the water, but within the clan itself?